Part 48. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 471. Chapter 471 Chapter 471 Explosion. Fujinexiu squinted his eyes and frowned. He seemed to be listening impatiently to her words and was about to hang up the phone. However, the man who had been in the driver's seat had come to them at some point and was comparing Fujinexiu to the others. A gesture. Fujinexiu Ki suppressed his temper and talked to Zhou Yuling, "Don't be confused anymore. Brother Fu, in your eyes, am I just a confused person?" Zhou Yuling was stimulated by Fujinexiu's words. "Yes, I am confused. I am confused. Why should I fall in love with you? I am confused. Why didn't I see you earlier? I like Zhang Xiao. If I had found out earlier, I would have killed her at that time." Zhou Yuling's words became more and more cruel, and she could hear her resentment towards Zhang Xiaoxi and her gritted teeth. Zhang Xiaoxiao also heard Ling's words and couldn't help but say a few words beside her. "Zhou Yuling, why do you have to force love that shouldn't be yours? If you are so good, there will be a man who loves you very much. It's very happy to be loved by others. What qualifications do you have to tell me here?" Zhou Yuling said in a sharp voice. Is she showing off when she says this to herself? Showing off that she got Fujinexiu, and pretending to be a good person to persuade her? This is not to laugh at her. "Zhang Xiaoxiao, you little bitch. If it weren't for you, Brother Fu would look back at me. Just because of you, so Brother Fu doesn't even look at me. Don't think that if you change your identity, you won't be discussed by everyone. I tell you, you will be discussed by others in your life. Have you learned to seduce at a young age? Attract men?" Zhou Yuling's words became more and more unpleasant. Zhang Xiaoxiao was not only angry, but also sympathized with Zhou Yuling. She couldn't love her, and her obsession was so deep. What she did now was obviously destroying herself. "What, you don't dare to answer yet, Zhang Xiaoxiao, I just want you to die. As long as you die, everything will become better, so you just wait for death in the car, right?" Zhou Yuling's voice sounded like it came out of hell. "There are the same." Fujinexiu no longer wanted to hear Zhou Yuling's words, so he cut off the phone directly. Fifth uncle. When Zhang Xiaoxiao saw Fujinexiu cut off the phone, his pupils were filled with fright. This move was obviously an act to anger Zhou Yuling. It didn't matter if she died, but she couldn't let Fujinexiu die with her. Otherwise, she had to save the boss. Garbage system, host, the car will explode in 1 minute and you will return to the west. Zhang Xiao forced himself not to be afraid. System, I want Fujinexiu to live. You must find a way to keep him alive. You owe me this. Garbage system, host, I can't do it, I don't have that function. Host, you still have 30 seconds to escape. Zhangxi. Fifth master, let's go quickly. Hold me tight, little one. Zhang Xiao didn't react yet. He only felt that his body was surrounded by people, and then there was a loud noise, and warm water dripped on his face. "Fifth uncle." Zhang Xiaoxiao called out heartbreakingly. At this time, Fujinexiu's head was covered with blood, and his tall body protected her well. Zhang Xiaoxi reached out and touched Fujinexiu's back. The clothes on Fujinexiu's back had been torn to pieces, and there was also a bit of burnt smell, and blood was intertwined. Fifth uncle, don't scare me, don't scare me." Zhang Xiao was so frightened that he couldn't speak clearly. He lay on the green belt with his mind completely blank and his arms around Fujinexiu. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 472. Chapter 472 Chapter 472 Six Gods and No Master. "Little miss, are you okay?" Meng Wu walked to Zhang Xiaoxiao and bent down to carry Fujinexiu on his back. Although Zhang Xiaoxiao was overly frightened, he came to his senses when Mengwu carried Fu Jianxiu on his back. His face was pale, and the confusion in his pupils was so obvious. Call an ambulance quickly. Mengwu carried Fu Jianxiu on his back and walked forward for a while. A car stopped in front of them. Zhao Huiyan got out of the car and saw the state of the three of them. Her face was livid. What's going on? Zhang Xiaoxiao was originally in a state of confusion. When he saw Zhao Huiyan appear, he burst into tears. He cried heartbreakingly and helplessly, "Uncle Zhao, the car exploded, fifth uncle." Zhao Huiyan helped Zhang Xiaoxiao get into the car, and Meng Wei put Fu Jianxiu on his back. His tough face was tense. "Second young master, is there a medical kit in the car?" Mengwu was also injured on the head, half of his face was stained with blood, and he looked so cautious. Zhao Huiyan immediately handed Mengwu the medical kit in the car, and Mengwu used the rearview mirror to start treating the wound himself. Jiangxi's eyes were red and swollen, and her vision was blurred by tears. She held Fu Jianxiu in her arms. Only in the car did she see clearly how badly Fu Jianxiu was injured. The skin on his back was burned by the flames, and there were fragments of the car glass in his skin, as well as on his head. There was blood constantly coming out. It would be no exaggeration to say that he was a man now. Zhang Xiaoxiao touched Fu Jianxiu's face with trembling hands, and his voice was hoarse and trembling, "Uncle Wu, wake up, Uncle Wu. Little fatty, drive faster." Zhao Huiyan's face was heavy. He was going to find a place to eat, but as soon as the meal was served, he received a call from Mengwu. It could be said that he was flying the car like a plane. He knew that the situation was serious, but he didn't expect it to be so serious. If the person following Fu Jianxiu today was not Mengwu, he could guarantee that Zhang Xiao would be the only one alive now. "Uncle Zhao, Uncle Wu is vomiting blood." There was a dazzling bright red on Zhang Xiaoxiao's down jacket. Zhao Huiyan has never studied medicine, but she was very panicked when she saw Fu Jianxiu vomiting blood. She had no choice but to urge her agent to drive faster, and then videotaped Guanyang. "Guanyang, the boss is vomiting blood, please take a look." Guanyang saw Fu Jianxiu's situation through the video. His narrow eyes were half squinted under the lenses, and he couldn't help but get angry. "Zhao Huiyan, who the asked you to move the boss? Don't you know how to call an ambulance? What if he was seriously injured? It's the internal organs you're reaching. If you move like this, something big will happen." Everyone in the car heard Guanyang's angry words, and everyone's expressions darkened. Mengwu spoke at this time, "Young master, I've seen that the fifth master didn't hurt any of his organs. Don't say that even if you haven't been checked by instruments. I know you have received basic training and can handle basic trauma." Damn. Guanyang cursed and did not continue talking about Mengwu, but told Zhao Huiyan that he did not have any first aid supplies in the car, and there was nothing he could do about Fu Jianxiu vomiting blood. The best way was to send the boss to the hospital as quickly as possible. Zhang Xiao didn't dare to move around while holding Fu Jianxiu in her arms. She was afraid of causing secondary harm to Fu Jianxiu. After all, the agent had driven a racing car before. The half-hour journey to the hospital only took 10 minutes. As soon as the car arrived at the entrance of the hospital, the doctor rolled over with an emergency bed. It was the person Guanyang had called in advance, and soon then he sent Fu Jianxiu to the operating room. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 473. Chapter 473. Chapter 473. Miscarriage. Zhang Xiao looked at the door of the operating room with red eyes, leaning against the wall with a cold body, surrounded by huge fear and anxiety. "Xiao Shi, who is it?" Zhao Huiyan asked Zhang Shi, just to distract her. Her expression was too scary. Zhang Xiaxi's scarlet eyes flashed as he looked at Zhao Huiyan. His face was not even white. He was suppressing his emotions, but he still bit his cheeks tightly, and every word was squeezed out from between his teeth. Zhou Yuling. When Zhao Huiyan heard her answer, her dark eyes darkened and her eyebrows furrowed deeper. How could she be that woman Zhou Yuling? Who the gave her such courage to hurt Fu Xiu? There must be something wrong with that woman's brain. Didn't she know? No matter what happened to Fu Xiu or not, wouldn't she have a good ending? Uncle Zhao, kill that woman Zhou Yuling, kill her. Zhang Xiaoxiao spoke softly, but every word was filled with ruthlessness. Zhao Huiyan knew in her heart that Zhou Yuling, that woman, would not survive. She raised her eyebrows and said, "When you are young, you should also go and check to see if there are any injuries." Among the three of them, only Zhang Xiaoxiao seemed to be fine, but after such a big explosion, Zhang Xiaoxiao was still pregnant, and the fetus was not very stable, so everyone was relieved to have it checked. Zhang Xiao shook her head stubbornly. She would not leave here. Unless she saw Fu Xiu come out safely, she would never leave here for even half a step. Zhao Huiyan knew that he couldn't persuade her, so he gave her a rough look and found that except for her face, which was a little pale, she was in pretty good condition, so she didn't persuade her and went to the corner to make a phone call. "Xiao, come to Rongcheng." Yi Changji had been sitting in the helicopter for a long time, with an irritable expression on his face. "I said Lao Zhao is waiting for you to come to your senses and call me, especially that woman Zhou Yuling has already disappeared without a trace." Zhao Huiyan was not in the mood to quarrel with him. "Don't let that woman run away, let the boss handle it." "Handling wool, it's a gift if I don't tear her into pieces." "Don't you like the boss? Are you going to destroy this thing if you can't get it?" "I've been obsessed with that woman since the first day I saw her. I don't like her, but fortunately the boss is not blind and marries her. She is a black widow." Zhao Huiyan felt a headache and pressed her temples. The person Zhou Yuling wanted to kill was the hour. "That way I won't let her go even more. Can she hurt her when she is a child?" Yi Changji's calf protector is even more serious than the others. This girl's calf protector is completely a person who helps her relatives but does not take care of her. "I don't care how you deal with it, just catch the person first. And you said that I wish I didn't have wings to fly to Rongcheng, but I have asked the brothers from Rongcheng to go there first. If there is any news from the boss, please remember to inform me as soon as possible. By the way, the second brother is also here." On the way here, Zhao Huiyan finished talking to Yi Changji on the phone and made a few more calls before returning to the surgery door. The scene he saw when he looked back almost scared him to death. Zhang Xiao lay on the ground and passed out. The doctor and nurse were quickly called, and Zhang Xiao was pushed into the operating room. The female doctor looked at Zhao Huiyan with a serious look on her face. "Are you a family member of the patient?" "I am his uncle. How is the patient? Where is the injury?" Zhao Huiyan stared at the doctor nervously with her heart in her throat. "The patient has had a miscarriage and needs surgery immediately." End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 474. Chapter 474. Chapter 474. But I don't want you to help me. Miscarriage. The veins on Zhao Huiyan's forehead were bulging out, and her eyes almost made the doctor eat her. "How could there be a miscarriage? Did you make an error in the examination?" The doctor's expression was quite serious. "The patient's pants are all covered in blood. As his uncle, didn't you even notice this?" Zhao Huiyan's face was livid, and there was blood on Zhang Xiaoxiu's body. He thought it was Fu Xiu's. Apart from the little girl's complexion being a little worse, he couldn't see any other expressions on her. If he really wanted to blame him, it was really because he didn't observe carefully. Now that Zhang Xiao has had a miscarriage, How should he explain it to the boss? Now we are going to perform a uterine evacuation surgery on her. Please sign it. The female doctor handed the surgery sheet to Zhao Huiyan. Zhao Huiyan held the pen and looked at the surgical drape. The joints of the hand holding the pen were protruding, the purple blood vessels were protruding, and the fingertips were trembling. Hurry up, the patient's life will be in danger if you wait too long, the doctor urged. Zhao Huiyan bit her back molars and signed her name on the surgery form. The doctor's surgery won't affect her future fertility, right? No, the doctor said and entered the operating room. Zhao Huiyan looked at the burning operating light, her eyebrows deeply furrowed, and she was in a bad mood, worrying about the two people inside. And Nangxuan and Guanyang rushed to the hospital just as Zhang Ziaxi was being pushed out of the operating room. Their whole nerves were tense and their hearts were tense. The patient's family members, come here, I need to explain to you how to take care of the patient. Zhao Huiyan quickly went up. The female doctor looked at him and frowned slightly. You'd better ask your lover to take care of him. It will be inconvenient for you as a grown man. I'll call her over later. You say it first, and I'll write it down. When she comes, I'll tell her. Zhao Huiyan glanced at Zhang Ziaxi, who was lying on the hospital bed, and felt terribly distressed. The doctor began to explain on the side, and Zhao Huiyan wrote everything down word for word. As soon as Guanyang heard what the doctor told him, his face immediately darkened. She had a miscarriage. Come with someone and take the patient to the ward. Zhao Huiyan followed the doctor to send Zhang Xiao to the ward, leaving An Nangxuan and Guanyang in the corridor outside the operating room. Guanyang, did I hear correctly? I had a miscarriage when I was young. An Nangxuan asked Guanyang in disbelief. Guanyang's face is no better than his. Zhang Xiao had a miscarriage. If Fu Chenxiao knew about this. That woman Zhou Yuling is really a nemesis, An Nangxuan burst out. Now I am afraid that as long as Zhou Yuling appears in front of them, she will definitely be temporarily executed. I'll go in and see the boss. Guanyang left the words and left. When he reappeared, he had changed into surgical clothes. Jin family. Why didn't you tell me that you went to attack Fu Chenxiao? Jin Runs looked at Zhou Yuling. Zhou Yuling was smoking, and the smoke shrouded her face, making it difficult to see the emotions on her face. Did I tell you to help me? Jin Run stared at the woman with bloodshot eyes. Yes, you tell me and I will help you. If you do this now, all Fu Chenxiao's brothers are already on their way to Rongcheng. What are you going to do? But I don't want you to help me. Zhou Yuling put out her cigarette, walked to the man, hugged him, and whispered in his ear, I'm leaving, take good care of yourself. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 475. Chapter 475. Chapter 475. Falling into Hell. Go there. Jin Runs tightened his hands around the woman's waist. Zhou Yuling twitched the corners of her lips and smiled lightly. Go and hide, and come back when the storm is over. I will go with you. You can't go with me, you have to help me get Mose. If I don't kill Zhang Ziaxi this time, then I'll take away her company. Zhou Yuling kissed the man's forehead. Jin Runs kissed her lips fiercely and kept kissing her. Seize. Zhou Yuling held the man's head and responded to his words. A crystal teardrop slipped from the corner of her eye. Even if she was crazy, she knew that this man was good to her. She didn't want him to fall into the endless like her. Magia. Mo Ziwi Yuan's fat face was all smiles when he heard what his subordinates reported to him. Zhou Yuling was really a good helper. She helped him get rid of 2 opponents in one go. He should be grateful to her. How is Fu Chenxiao? Subordinates, rescue at the hospital, but our people can't get close to the hospital. All their people came and sealed the top floor of the hospital. They brought the doctors themselves. Well, where is that woman Zhou Yuling now? Hunter, Zhou Yuling came out from Jin Run's place and is now driving on the highway out of Rongcheng. Jin Run's, Mo Ziwi Yuan's eyes narrowed. Subordinate, Mr. Mo, the woman Jin Run's married seems to be Zhou Yuling. Didn't he report it to you? I know, go find out how Jin Run's got together with that woman Zhou Yuling, and by the way, tell Fujianxiao's people about Zhou Yuling's whereabouts. Yes. When his subordinates were about to leave, Mo Ziwi Yuan stopped him, his eyes full of calculations. First grab that woman Zhou Yuling and ask her to sign the equity transfer booklet. Yes. Hospital. Guanyang participated in the operation together. The operation lasted 8 hours. Fu Chenexai was sent to the intensive care unit as soon as he came out. Guanyang, are you okay, boss? And Nangxuan asked nervously. It's okay, as long as you survive tonight. Guanyang pinched the center of his eyebrows. Fu Chenexai's injuries were actually very serious. His internal organs were damaged and there were large areas of burns on his back. It would take a long time to recover this time. And Nangxuan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that he said everything was fine. You must know that if Fu Chenexai is hospitalized like this for a few days, the company's stock price will be affected by everything, not to mention that the forces of all parties are ready to move. Fu Qiuchao had called just now to ask. They had blocked the news about Fu Chenexai's injury, but there are some people whose news channels you cannot block. As long as nothing happens, you will stay in Rongcheng these days. Boy, have you seen Shi Xiao? When Zhao Huiyan went to make a phone call, Zhang Shi disappeared and pulled out all the needles. He had searched all over this floor and this was the last place. The three men's expressions darkened. Guanyang was the calmest. Separately, second, call the bodyguards and ask them if Zhang Xiao has left the hospital. I'll go to the intensive care unit to take a look. The boss has just been sent there. Is Xiao Xiao going there? Where is it? Zhang Xiao dragged his weak body and stood guard outside Fu Chenexai's ward, his eyes red. Uncle Wu, I'm sorry. I didn't protect our child. I'm sorry. When Zhang Xiao woke up, she heard the nurse tell her that she had had a miscarriage. She was confused. Fu Chenexai had obviously protected her during the explosion and did not let her get hurt at all, but why was the child gone? There is no more. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 476. Chapter 476. Chapter 476. Need to vent emotions. She didn't protect the child well. What should she do with Fu Chenexai? Why didn't she feel anything when the child was gone? At least she could feel the pain. The garbage system couldn't bear to see her so sad, so it came out to explain, the host is not saying that you have no feelings, but that Fu Chenexai has distracted you. When Zhang Xiao heard the voice of it speaking, he poured out all his anger on the system. You broken system, why don't you have any functions? If you had a golden finger, you would protect my child. Why, you have nothing, why? Zhang Shi's roar made the system hide weakly in the corner and tremble. It wasn't that it didn't have any functions. Didn't it have a reminder system? Although this time it worked incorrectly. The garbage system explained weakly, host, this is a match made by the company and has nothing to do with me. Don't you know how to complain to the company? Ask for some useful functions. Just a reminder is of no use. I still have to rely on myself for everything. It's because you are so weak that I got hurt today, Zhang Xiao said ventedly. System? Garbage system. 11 Shi, go back with Uncle Guan. Guanyang looked at Zhang Shi with distress. They hadn't seen her for a few days, but the little girl was so weak that if a strong wind came, she would be blown away. Zhang Xiao raised his eyes and looked at Guanyang. His eyes were as red and swollen as walnuts. The warm liquid was poured down one by one. Uncle Guan, the child is gone. I didn't keep the fifth uncle's child. I didn't use it, I'm so useless, woo. Guan Yang looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao, his eyelids twitching fiercely, his eyebrows lowered, and his voice was gentle and comforting. It's okay, Xiaoxiao, your fifth uncle won't blame you. You will have children in the future, right? It's your fault, don't blame yourself. Zhang Xiaoxi shook his head crazily on the spot, tears leaving traces of tears on his face. No. Uncle Guan is all my fault. Uncle Wu protected me like that and didn't let me get hurt at all, but I still didn't protect the children, it's all my fault. Guan Yang looked at Zhang Xiaoxi's condition, the crease between his brows deepened, and he slowly approached Zhang Xiaoxi. Xiao, you heard Uncle Guan say that the loss of the child has nothing to do with you. Your fifth uncle jumped out of the car with you in his arms. He is protecting you, but he can't guarantee that you won't be harmed, you know. No, it's my fault, it's my fault. Uncle Wu protected me very well. I didn't have any skin injuries at all. Zhang Xiao said emotionally. When Guan Yang saw this, he immediately pulled Zhang Xiao into his arms and hugged her, calming her mood. It's okay when you are a child. Your fifth uncle won't blame you. There will be children in the future. Look at your fifth uncle. My uncle is still lying in the intensive care unit. You need to get well soon so that you can take care of your fifth uncle. Zhang Xiao turned his head mechanically, stared at the door of the intensive care unit with his dark eyes, and murmured to himself, Uncle Five needs to be taken care of. Zhang Xiaoxi murmured to himself as he struggled to stand up, I want to go back and lie down. I want to get well as soon as possible. I want to take care of my fifth uncle. Guan Yang held her in his arms to prevent her from breaking away from his arms. Child, you are still very weak. Uncle Guan will take you back to rest so that you can get better as soon as possible. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 477. Chapter 477. Chapter 477. Mentally insane. Zhang Xiaoxiao became much better after listening to Guan Yang's words and let him carry her back to the ward. Guan Yang carried Zhang Xiao back to the ward. Zhao Huiyan and An Nangxuan rushed back to the ward sweating profusely. Zhang Xiao had already closed his eyes and was lying on the hospital bed, but his brows were furrowed all the time, as if he was not sleeping very peacefully. You two, come with me. Guan Yang took the lead in walking out of the ward. It was rare for the two of them to see Guan Yang's serious face. Their hearts skipped a beat and they followed him out of the room. Zhao Huiyan was the most impatient, so she asked when she went out, Guan Yang, tell me what's going on. Guan Yang pursed his thin lips, his brows never relaxed, and his face remained tense. When I was young. What happened to the hour? Zhao Huiyan interrupted before Guan Yang finished speaking and asked, now that Fu Chenxiu is injured, if Zhang Xiao is in trouble, they can die and apologize. And Nangxuan is calmer than Zhao Huiyan after all, but he still feels uneasy in his heart, because Guan Yang's face is really not good, and it is so serious that it makes people uneasy. Old Zhao, can you let Guan Yang finish what he said? Zhao Huiyan. Xiao, it's very possible that he's mentally disturbed. Guan Yang made the analysis based on Zhang Xiao's behavior just now. Zhang Xiao was in a state that he didn't want to see. Zhao Huiyan stared at Guan Yang, frowned, and her throat slid. Guan Yang, are you sure? Guan Yang nodded silently. You mean you went crazy when you were young, and Nangxuan's heart was heavy and he was even more worried. It can be understood this way, but Xiao is only one step away from going crazy. Losing her child is a huge blow to her. In addition, the boss is injured, and she can't bear it. Guan Yang explained that Zhang Xiao is now a tied penis. String, if this string breaks, she will probably be useless. Zhao Huiyan listened to Guanyang's explanation and took out a pack of cigarettes from her bag in annoyance, lit one, and took a deep puff to relieve the boredom in her heart. She asked in a hoarse voice, "Can it be cured? See a psychiatrist." And Nangxuan also took a cigarette from Zhao Huiyan and lit it. Shenzudian's face was tense and he looked at Guanyang. "I'll leave it to you to find the psychiatrist. I'll ask Niuniu to come and stay with me." Okay, it would be best to have someone with Zhang Xiao now to distract her. After the three men had a brief conversation, Guanyang went to contact a psychiatrist, Zhao Huiyan went to watch over Fu Jianxiu, and An Nangxuan watched over Zhang Xiaoxiao and called Chu Hanyu. Chen family. Chu Hanyu sat in front of the computer with headphones on, tapping on the keyboard with her fingers, excitedly playing games with Chen Biking. "Let's go on the road, come and help me." Niuniu's cell phone rang. Chen Biking went to help Chu Hanyu and glanced at the incoming call. It showed the enemy. He squinted his eyes and raised his eyebrows slightly. Chu Hanyu glanced at the phone, turned it over to cover it, and continued to play games with Chen Biking without intending to answer it. Over at the hospital, An Nangxuan frowned and listened to the mechanical the other end of the phone. "Hello, the number you dialed is currently unanswered." Pressing his temples with a headache, he kept dialing a number. Chu Hanyu picked up the phone after playing a game with Chen Biking, with a cold attitude. "What's the matter?" And Nangxuan didn't say nonsense. He was afraid that the girl would hang up the phone and went straight to the point. "I came to Chengdu. I had a miscarriage when I was young and my mental state is not good. Come and stay with her." End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 478. Chapter 478. Chapter 478. Isn't it nice to be loved by others? Chu Hanyu went to Rongcheng overnight. When he saw Zhang Xiaoxiao lying on the hospital bed, his eyes were hot, but he still couldn't hold back from crying. "Children, you don't think you are my sister anymore. You didn't even tell me when you were hospitalized." Zhang Xiao was having breakfast. When he saw Chu Hanyu, he twitched his pale cheek and said, "Hanyu, I'm fine. I have to get well as soon as possible to take care of my fifth uncle." Chu Hanyu's heart ached. As An Nangxuan said, Zhang Xiao's condition was not right. His eyes were hollow and only had a little starlight when he mentioned Fu Jianxiu. "Then you need to eat more so that you can get well soon and have the strength to take care of Uncle Fu." Chu Hanyu poured out the chicken soup from the thermos cup and gave it to Zhang Xiaoxi. Zhang Xiao was sipping chicken soup, his eyes rested on Chen Biking, who had been standing outside the door, and quietly asked Chu Hanyu, "Are you completely done with Uncle An?" Chu Hanyu glanced at An Nangxuan, who had been beside the hospital bed, and replied, "It's because Chen Biking is not handsome enough or it doesn't feel good to be loved by others. Why do I still do things that are hot on the face but cold on the butt?" And Nangxuan, who had sharp ears, heard someone's answer. His handsome face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Recently, his blood pressure was very unstable due to Chu Hanyu's insufflation, and he seriously doubted that he would die young. Zhang Xiaoxiao suppressed a slight chuckle when she listened to Chu Hanyu's answer. Chu Hanyu's answer was really like the girl in her real life, sociable. "Well, I secretly support you." Zhang Xiaoxi gave Chu Hanyu a thumbs up. And Nangxuan's eyes twitched, and he really felt pain in vain. Chu Hanyu's arrival made Zhang Xiaoxiao feel much better. After chatting for a while, Zhang Xiaoxiao said he wanted to see Fu Jianxiu, so Chu Hanyu pushed her to the intensive care unit. Guanyang was recording the data on the instrument inside, and when he saw Zhang Xiao appearing at the door, he went out. "I'm young, I look good today." Guanyang spoke first. Zhang Xiaoxiao smiled, his eyes and heart focused on the people inside. "Uncle Guan, our fifth uncle awake. I woke up once last night, and now I fell asleep again." Guanyang did not lie to Zhang Xiaoxi. "Fu Jianxiu did wake up once last night, and the first thing he said when he woke up was whether Zhang Xiaoxi was okay. He didn't tell Zhang Xiaoxiao about the miscarriage. He said he was afraid that the man would jump out of bed. Did Uncle Wu say anything? Zhang Xiaoxiao subconsciously clenched the corners of her clothes and pursed her lips. She was extremely nervous. She was afraid that Fu Chenexai would be disappointed when he found out that the child was gone. Zhang Xiao's subtle changes were caught in Guanyang's eyes. Xiao Xiao, you really think that your fifth uncle is an Iron Man? You can still chat with me after surgery. He just woke up and didn't say anything. Zhang Xiaoxiao's tense heart relaxed, and even the hands that clenched the corners of his clothes loosened. Uncle Guan, how long will it take for Uncle Wu to recover? I'm not sure yet, the burn on my back is a bit serious, so you should get better soon and you can take care of your fifth uncle. Well, I'll be fine soon. Okay, you all don't want to be here, go back to your own ward. Guanyang asked them all to leave. Magia. Jin Run stood in front of Mo Ziwiyuan with an expressionless face. Mr. Mo, why do you want to see me? Runs, you are my most capable general. I can give you a chance, but there is only one chance. Mo Ziwiyuan drank tea and stared at Jin Runs sharply. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 479. Chapter 479. Chapter 479. You should know the consequences of betraying me. Jin Runs looked at Mo Ziwiyuan expressionlessly. Mr. Mo, if you are talking about Zhou Yuling's marriage to me, then I have nothing to say. Mo Ziwiyuan's eyes were as sharp as a poisonous snake. Runs, you have been with me for many years, you should know the consequences of betraying me. I didn't betray you, so the fate you mentioned has nothing to do with me. Jin Run said, neither humble nor arrogant. Mo Ziwiyuan has been in the shopping mall for many years, and he has a lot of thoughts. Jin Runs can fix it with just a few words. Runs, I said I would give you a chance. Do you want to miss this opportunity now? I have something in my hand. After reading it, you will naturally believe me. Jin Runs took out a document from his briefcase and placed it on Mo Ziwiyuan's desk. Mo Ziwiyuan squinted at the documents on the table without moving. Runs, if the things here are not what I want, you will really miss the chance to survive. I believe that what is there is what you want. If it were not what you have in mind, then I would have stayed by your side all these years in vain. Jin Runs said. Mo Ziwiyuan took a sip of tea, raised his eyebrows slightly, reached out to pick up the document on the table, and opened it. Inside was an equity transfer document. On the last page, he read Zhou Yuling's name. Mr. Mo, I said you would like this document. Are you satisfied now? I believe you should know why I married Zhou Yuling. Jin Runs looked at the upturned corners of Mo Ziwiyuan's mouth and knew that he was satisfied. Mo Ziwiyuan packed the documents happily. Runs, you must have won my heart, but I misunderstood you. Mr. Mo, satisfying you is my best reward for you. I have never forgotten your kindness. It is my job to help you remove all obstacles. I will try my best to do whatever you want. I'll help you complete it. Jin Runs showed his loyalty with some words. Runs, thank you for your hard work. Mo Ziwiyuan stood up and patted his shoulder. As long as you don't misunderstand. Since that woman Zhou Yuling is useless, you must know where she went. Find a way to tell Fu Chenexai's people about her whereabouts. Mo Ziwiyuan is a very suspicious person. He now seems to believe Jin Runs, but in fact I don't fully believe him yet. Okay, Jin Runs replied coldly. Runs, people like us who are wandering on the fringe are right to be careful. As long as that woman Zhou Yuling falls into the hands of Fu Chenexai's people, we can rest easy. I'll make sure you have peace of mind. I believe in you because I single-handedly promoted you. Mo Ziwiyuan patted him on the shoulder in belief. In the middle of a highway section in the suburbs of Chengdu, Yi Changji looked at the sea below, frowned, and talked to his subordinates. You told me that she fell into the sea. I didn't ask you to spare her life. I want her to live. The subordinate replied with a pale face, Master Yi, it's not just me who is chasing her, there is another car chasing her, and that car fell into the sea with her. MD is going to transfer people to fish them out of the sea for me. If you are alive, you will see people, and if you are dead, you will see corpses. Even if it is a corpse, I will carry it to the boss. Yi Changji shouted angrily. Hands trembled from the yelling. Master Yi, we are here to mobilize people, but we still have to say hello to the people above. Do you think you want to communicate? I know, I don't need you to remind me. Yi Changji put out his cigarette. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 480. Chapter 480. Chapter 480. Why is he so stupid? His men didn't dare to waste a moment and went directly to the top to mobilize people. He was even suspecting that he had found a body and that his master Yi wanted to whip the body. After Yi Changji finished explaining, he drove to the hospital. Suburbs of Rongcheng. Zhou Yuling asked someone to help her with her injured legs and feet. She gritted her teeth and endured the pain, and looked at the man intently. Why do you want to help me? Why don't you do the deal your man came to me to do? If it's not a loss-making deal. Su Jiashan sat on the sofa with a lazy look. Zhou Yuling's eyes trembled fiercely, and she asked the man nervously, what deal did Jin Runs make with you? Su Jiashan slowly took a sip of red wine, his narrow eyes were as cool as snakes, and walked into Zhou Yuling step by step. He pinched her chin with his fingers, looked at her appearance carefully, and said in a mocking tone, just with your appearance, you can't even compare to the servant who poured me wine. That man offered fu and mo in exchange for your safety. It's really not an ordinary infatuation. Zhou Yuling's heart trembled. She was so shocked that she couldn't speak for several seconds. Jin Runs used fu and mo to make a deal with Su Jiashan just to protect her safety. Just Mo Ziwi Yuan was difficult to deal with. Fu Jianxiu, it's something he absolutely can't deal with. Isn't he trying to hit an egg with an egg? Why is he so stupid? This is the first time Zhou Yuling has experienced the feeling of heartache. The feeling is indescribable. Why does he protect her like this? She doesn't need him to protect her like this. She doesn't. Su Jiashan looked at the expression on her face, and his narrow eyes were full of astonishment. In his opinion, men who are irrational for women are fools, including Su Yuan's, who has not returned to his home for a long time because of a woman. He had been so fascinated by that woman that he had forgotten the survival rules of the Su family, but this just gave him the opportunity. The position of the head of the Su family could only be his. She threw Zhou Yuling's chin away in disgust. Since I promised your man to protect you, you can stay here peacefully until he comes to pick you up. Don't blame me for not warning you. Fu Jianxiu's brother is looking for you now. You should know his brother's capabilities better than I do. Zhou Yuling sat there with a stiff face. Of course she knew brother Fu Jianxiu's ability. She had a way to avoid it. She was confident that she could avoid it. Why did that fool Jin Runs involve himself? After Su Jiashan finished talking to Zhou Yuling, he called Jin Runs and said, your woman is safe now, but she has a scratch on her foot. If Mo Ziwi Yuan needs it, I can help you. Not yet. I will get you Mo's as soon as possible. As for Fu's, I will get back to you soon. Jin Runs looked at the contents of his computer with a serious expression. I'm waiting for your good news. Su Jiashan hung up the phone and pinched the face of the woman next to him. Do you want to go see my brother? The woman forced herself to laugh. Sir, it's natural for him to come and see you. Su Jiashan laughed heartily and was very satisfied with what the woman said. My brother is so obsessed with women that he has forgotten the Su family's survival rules. As a brother, I need to remind him. Sir, you are so kind-hearted, the woman complimented her, but the man's face changed on the spot. Squinting his eyes, his face was sullen, and his voice was cold. You know what, the people of the Sioux family can't have more than a kind heart. I understand. The woman's cheek was pinched so hard that it hurt. Could you please give me a monthly pass for a few chapters? End of this chapter.